I presented in July the draft opinion of the Econ Committee to the budget. Then you colleagues had the opportunity to make amendments. 38 budgetary amendments were put forward and 47 amendments to the opinion, so to the text, to the report. I will start with the budgetary amendments because these are the most important ones. And our scope, of course, the scope of this opinion are the ESAs, the agencies which fall under Econ's area of responsibility. And the Commission proposed certain amounts for all of these ESAs, and the Council proposed cuts. My line is the following. I would like us as Parliament to reject the cuts made by the Council. I have been in very close contact with the European Commission. I am also a member of that interinstitutional working group on agencies, and the proposals which the Commission makes in the draft budget are the reasonable ones. They are not too much and not too little. This is why I say that we should reject the cuts made by the Council, because that would affect the work of these agencies. But to those colleagues who have demanded increases to the budgets of the ESAs, I have to say that I spoke to the agencies. I spoke to the services of the Commission which have an evaluation, and also through my work in the interinstitutional working group on agencies, increases are not justified at this moment in time because, you know, there is no additional responsibilities for these ESAs. They have no new tasks, and sometimes colleagues have asked for an increase of the budget of these agencies, but not for an increase of the staff levels of these agencies. So, you know, what would that money be used for? And this is why my proposal is that we ask for the agencies for the same amount which the European Commission put in their draft budget. So not less as Council did, not more as some colleagues would have wanted to see. Then, secondly, colleagues put forward some amendments to put some budgetary lines, some amounts on some budgetary lines in reserve. And I agree with two of these approaches, and this is why I propose explicitly to vote in favor of the oral amendment put forward by colleague Sven Giegold to put in reserve amounts on the line on standards in the field of financial reporting and auditing, because our committee, in the past legislature, it was our former colleague Stolojan, who did a report through which we ask these authorities to implement, you know, our requirements with regard to financial reporting and auditing. And this is why it's correct to say, as long as you do not fulfill what we have asked from you, we put the money which we are giving to you into reserve. This is why I support this amendment. The second amendment on reserve that I'm supporting is to put some of the budget of Eurostat into reserve, because, yes, we appreciate the work of Eurostat, but whenever I'm trying to look for some information and data on the website of Eurostat, it's awfully complicated. They have to make their work much more customer-oriented, much more user-friendly. Their total budget per year is 74 million euros. The amendment which colleagues put forward proposed to put 4 million euros into reserve. I think that's a bit too much. That's why I'm supporting 2 million euros. But the political signal is very clear. We're putting 2 million of their budget into reserve. We are telling them very clearly why they should raise their game. They should make the results of their work more user-friendly for us as policymakers, but for the wide public as well. Thirdly, there is a proposal to put 90 million euros from the guarantee to EFSI, to the European Fund for Strategic Investments, into reserve. And dear colleagues, with this here I propose to vote against. I do not agree with this, and I will tell you why. EFSI is a project which is working. It leads to more investments, it leads to more growth in Europe, it leads to more jobs in Europe. We should not endanger it, we should not give any negative signal with regards to EFSI to the markets, to the financial markets, to the investors, to the job creators. We know that it's working, but we know that it's not perfect. We have to maybe improve on the additionality of the projects. As a member from Romania, I can tell you that my constituents are asking me, well, why do so many of the investments go into other more developed countries but so little to us? Because we have some structural disadvantages. The capital markets in the newer member states are not yet developed. Our experience with financial instruments is scarcer. So what I want to say is, EFSI is not perfect. It needs to be improved, particularly, you know, in terms of technical assistance and support to newer member states. But all of this is undergoing, and this is why I suggest that we do not question EFSI now, which is a new and successful tool, by putting such a big amount into reserve. On pilot projects and preparatory actions, I have told in the meeting in July that pilot projects and preparatory actions are put forward by us as members, then they are sent to the Commission for an evaluation. The Commission can mark them with a grade of A if they are perfect, B if they can be partly implemented or if small changes are needed, C if they are bad, D if they are already covered by fully covered by other works of the Commission. And I said that I will consider only projects which receive the grade of A and B. And so I'm proposing to support pilot projects which have a grade of A and B. There is one on to create some new structures in the field of anti-money laundering, which I believe it received a grade of B from the Commission. But honestly, we already have a dedicated EU program. It's called Fiscalis in this area. This is why I believe that that an additional pilot project here is not justified, and focusing on other pilot projects makes more sense. And the same with the pilot project on common ownership, where the European Parliament has just tendered a study in this very area. So basically the scope of this is also covered by work which is already ongoing. So this is it about the budgetary amendments, which are the important part of our work.